welcome back to another edition of 10 Count. We're here in the city of Santa Monica at Hollywood Smoke. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Michael Baca and Doug Fischer. This weekend from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, once again, it's showtime, and we have a rematch for the WBA featherweight title. Carl Frampton goes at it once again with Leo Santa Cruz, and for the WBC lightweight title, Dejan Zlaticanin takes on the return of Mikey Garcia. Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot. The first time they fought, prior to that matchup, I think your exact words were that Leo Santa Cruz will destroy Carl Frampton. That didn't happen. Does anything change the second time around?
Well, I'll be careful of my language in describing this fight, that's for sure. I'm still going to stick with Leo Santa Cruz. I still believe in him. I think he learned a lot with that loss. I think he can take a lot of positivity out of it and go into this fight knowing he can hang in there with a guy like Carl Frampton. And he's going to have to just let his hands go. And I think he knows that. Another little interesting caveat about it was I don't think he really liked New York. It would be a stupid excuse if that was the case. But I think this fight in Las Vegas is going to serve him better. He's going to have his dad with him for this entire training camp, which also will help. So I'm going to stick with Leo Santa Cruz because of that language I said earlier. I still believe in him. I mean,
there's no reason not to believe in Santa Cruz. He didn't lose to a bum.
He did not, no.
He lost to a sensational fighter.
But I was outrageous with my language, that's for sure.
You know, it's easy to say, though, a guy's going to throw more punches, but I look at it this way. Some fights are won with the hands, some fights are won with legs and feet. Doug, I just thought the ability to hit on the fly, as the late, great Don Familton said, and always to move off. And Leo Santa Cruz is very effective when he could dig in his heels, plant his feet, and work kind of in a linear fashion. Carl Frampton's, I thought his lateral movement really offset and neutralized a lot of the stuff that Leo usually gets accomplished.
I thought the fight would come down to the versatility of Carl Frampton and the fact that I believe that Frampton has the more boxing savvy, boxing intelligent corner. I think the McGuigans know this sport. And no disrespect to the Santa Cruz family. I've known them well. I've watched Leo Santa Cruz literally grow up in the boxing gyms from a toddler. I covered his older brothers when they were fighters. They're kind of one-dimensional, but they're badasses in that one dimension. It's about pressure. It's about volume. They can catch. They can take a shot. But they do need a willing participant. They do need someone to stand there and offer resistance. And, you know, Carl Frampton can do that if he chooses to in spots. And he can get respect with his power and his punch placement. But he can also stick and move very well. And he proved that before he fought Leo Santa Cruz in Manchester, England, almost 1 year ago against Scott Quigg. And I was like you. I was bullish on Scott Quigg, and he really showed me something that night in Manchester. He showed me that he cannot, it's not just punching on the fly, he can hurt you on the fly. Right. He broke Quigg's jaw, and one thing that he did early in the first match with Santa Cruz was stagger him into the ropes, and that kind of put Santa Cruz in check for a couple rounds. And then in the middle round, Santa Cruz got back to his ring identity and really put the pressure and made a fight of it. That being said, I thought Frampton won 8 clear rounds in the first fight. In this fight, I favor him again, but I think it'll be legitimately close. There was a scorecard in the first fight where it was even, 114, 114. I thought that judge was a bit out of line.
That's the American exchange rate.
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
But this fight, I think it will legitimately be close because I do think from the very get-go, from the opening round, the opening bell, Santa Cruz is going to be himself in there.
But, Doug, here's one thing that you mentioned. I do think that while Leo Santa Cruz punches a lot, doesn't punch hard. And I got the sense, is Carl Frampton Jr. Jones at 126? No, but I think he's the harder, more authoritative puncher. And for the first time, I thought Leo Santa Cruz really got visibly affected by a certain right hand, and that sent him on his heels. Tenor of the fight completely changes. To me, Leo Santa Cruz is like a rock slide. He's got to come downhill, so he's got to be on his front foot. And he was reacting to the jab, and he's not a natural counterpuncher. So how does he adjust? I'm not sure about that. Maybe he just says, you know what? I'm going to have to walk through fire and really eat a lot of leather early on to get into the fight. So the rounds that became 8, 9, and 10, he's going to have to sacrifice to try to make those 4, 5, and 6. And I just don't know if he's able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, and I favor Frampton by decision.
And by the way, Ring Magazine 2016 Fighter of the Year was Carl Frampton.
The Jackal.
So yeah, so there's your bias, folks. Good call. Completely agree. Guys, on the undercard, Dejan Zlaticanin against Mikey Garcia. Be honest with you guys, I think this is a vast step up from the comeback fight. I think it's dangerous. I think Mikey Garcia, we know this, he's a taller, bigger guy. Zlaticanin, I think, is a bull. I don't know. This is no gimme for Mikey Garcia.
Zlaticanin is a short guy, but he's a natural lightweight. He's not coming up from featherweight like Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia obviously has undeniable boxing ability and talent. That's why people are already talking about future fights for Garcia.
Yeah.
People are talking about Mikey Garcia versus Jorge Linares, or Mikey Garcia versus Vasil Lomachenko. That's how high people are on Mikey Garcia. But this is not a gimme fight. This guy he's going to bring it. He's not just aggressive. He applies smart technical pressure. He's not he doesn't have the one-hitter quitter, doesn't have the proverbial eraser with his punches, but he can do a lot of damage in this fight. If Garcia isn't back 100% from those 2 years he took off, he could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Zlaticanin as a southpaw, he can be a trickster for Garcia, especially with the long time off that he's had. And Elio Rojas was no match for him. It was clear that Garcia still had a little bit of that star-making potential before he left. I've had the pleasure of actually visiting training camp down the street in Long Beach, California for Zlaticanin at the Hill Street Boxing Club. And he's a very quiet guy, doesn't like to talk very much. But about an hour, I just watched him work out, and it was kind of reminiscent of watching Gennady Golovkin work out. He just did it with ease. So he's a physical specimen, and we'll see what happens. I don't know how good exactly Zlaticanin is, because looking at his past opponents, he won the WBC title off I think it was a late replacement. It was Franklin Mamani, I believe. Yeah, he basically picked up the title. Yeah, it was a vacant title. Was abdicated by Jorge Linares. Exactly. So we'll see. I do like the fight, though.
I spoke to his manager, Alex, at the Wild Card Gym last week, whose last name, quite frankly, I can't really pronounce, but he's been around. We all know him. They are stunned that Garcia took this fight. He flat out told me, he said, Steve, thank Mikey Garcia. They made the mistake of their lives. It's almost like they're insulted by the fact you think we're this easy of a
you can have one tune-up after 2 years off and fight us? How dare you? I like that attitude.
You know, if Mikey Garcia can win this fight in this circumstance, literally, I'm going to say right now, he's a top 10 guy. But Zlatikanin's going to have to throw some change-ups here, because what is Garcia like? Likes fastballs pitched right down the middle. That if you come right to his wheelhouse, he'll sit on that back foot and he's going to time you. Well, Garcia is a natural counterpuncher. Like a young Marquez.
Yes, and like a young Marquez, he is deadly accurate with his punches, and he has power.
And he runs you into him.
He run or walk. He appreciates it if you run to him. Think about Orlando Salido. How much trouble Salido has given so many people, and how many times he hit the deck early on against Mikey Garcia. Garcia welcomes pressure, and that is part of Zlatikanin's game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the chalk. I'm going to go with Garcia based on what I think of Garcia, or what we know of him, and I think it's also an assumption. The Garcia of 2013 and 14, we don't know much about him in 2017. I still think this is a massive step up, but I think it legitimizes. A lot of what we say about Mikey Garcia is based on the past, his reputation, what he earned before. We don't know about the current tense, and I think we're going to find out a lot this night. Well, that's it for this edition of 10 Count. On behalf of Doug Fischer and Mike Baca, this is Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.